If you've ever thought about buying a Springfree trampoline, there's probably one question above all others that you want the answer to. Are they worth it? For the last 7 years, I've owned the 092, which is the large oval you see behind me. So I've got a pretty good insight into whether they're worth it. In this video, I will show you what the condition is like after that length of time and tell you what it's been like owning one. And we will try together to get to the bottom of that big question. Are Springfree trampolines worth the money? First of all, on this channel, I review products for family and home, like appliances and big ticket purchases for the family. If you'd like to see more videos like that, please hit the subscribe and notifications down below. So the trampoline behind is the large oval and it's 8 by 13 feet. We've owned it for 7 years, although for full disclosure, 2 of those years, it was actually in storage while we were overseas. So during that time, it's seen 5 years of play, 2 different children, and it's also been in the garden the whole time in quite an exposed location. We're on the south coast of the UK and we get very strong winds during the winter and salty air all year round. So bear that in mind when you take a look at the condition that it's now in. If we start off by looking at the nets, you will notice that we have some damage in one area. That was caused, I believe, by having the trampoline originally too close to some bushes. And I think one of the branches got caught in the net and that's what caused the hole. It hasn't spread since the initial damage, but if it did, you can buy replacement nets on the Springfree website. The steps, which are an added purchase when you buy the trampoline, are still in great condition. They still have that bounce to them as well. So when you step on them, they still have a little bit of give. And to be honest, they're pretty much as good as new. Looking at the frame itself, we do have, unsurprisingly, some areas of rust. They are around the nuts that hold the frame together, but also where the frame joins the holders for the rods. And what's interesting is going round the frame, there are areas where we have no rust at all and areas where we have more serious rust. And I think that's down to the location where we keep our trampoline. Some areas over the years have been more exposed to the salty air than others. And so that is the root of the corrosion. And it may be better if you site your trampoline in a different location where you don't have that problem. The rods are all still in great condition. The white of our white rods is still a shimmering white colour, and we've had no breakages or anything needing to be replaced. Now, arguably the most important part of the trampoline is the mat. And actually that's the bit that I'm most impressed with because it's in immaculate condition. The yellow around the edges of the mat is the tape which hides the seams that joins it together, and it's still holding very well. There's no problems with it peeling up or anything like that. And the black mat itself is in brilliant condition, and if you need to clean it up, it cleans up perfectly. Now, there are 2 ways really which I keep the trampoline clean. One of them is that once a season I do a big pressure wash on the whole thing, cleaning off the mat and the net and the frame and getting rid of anything like bird poo or lichen which is growing on the net. And that gets it in absolutely tip-top condition, and it's quite fun to do as well. Now, the rest of the time, I keep the mat clean by using a dustpan and brush to remove things like blossom and leaves when they blow onto the mat. It's quite a boring and laborious job, and I'm the only one who ever seems to want to do it. So I've recently come up with what I hope turns out to be a solution, which is that I'm going to buy a small, handheld, cordless vacuum cleaner, the kind of thing that you might use to clean out your car. And my thought behind this is twofold. One, I think it's going to be a more efficient way of cleaning up. But secondly, I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be a fun way of cleaning up, and therefore my children might take on the job rather than me. If you'd like to see how that turns out, I'm going to be doing a review of the handheld vacuum cleaner on this channel, so make sure you're subscribed. When you buy any trampoline, you will need to decide whether you want to keep it in one location or move it around the garden. And in the early years that we had this trampoline, we were really concerned about it blowing around in a winter storm and causing damage or damaging itself. So we opted to buy the Springfree anchor kit. And I have to say, it's actually fantastic. There's no issues at all. If you want to secure your trampoline to the ground, it's not going anywhere with that anchoring kit. The downside is we've obviously had to take it out a couple of times, and that's been quite hard work. They are very long anchors that go into the ground. And when I removed them, I had to actually dig around the anchors in order to get them out. And it was not a quick process. So do bear that in mind. I recently decided that I no longer wanted to have it anchored. And this was mainly because the grass underneath after 5 years had died off, exacerbated by the drought that we had last summer. So having put the anchors in the ground again, I dug them up and I've been moving the trampoline around the garden. It's really a two-person job. If I try and move it myself, I can kind of shuffle it to the side, but what I can't do is move it forwards and backwards. However, Springfree have brought out a solution to this. They've brought out some wheels, which aren't overly expensive, and you can put them underneath the frame, and that allows you to easily move it around the garden. Now let's talk about disassembling and reassembling the trampoline, which we had to do a couple of years ago. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It was an awful experience for us. And in fact, for the 2 years when we were away, my husband kept telling me at random moments that he was never going to put the trampoline back together again because it had been so hard to disassemble. However, since that has happened, and obviously we've put the trampoline back, we have learned a few things. Firstly, assembling it is way easier than disassembling it. Secondly, there is an order in which you should remove the rods from the trampoline if you're taking it apart, and the manual shows that order. And finally, there is a very nice man on YouTube who has done a very slow, methodical and easy to follow guide to how to remove the rods from the trampoline, because they are the tricky bits. So down below, I have linked to that video and you can go and watch it, and that will make it 100 times easier. You do not need to have the awful experience that we had if you follow the directions. Now, Springfree is very focused on safety. It's the entire reason that the company exists. The founder wanted to reinvent the trampoline and get the springs out of the way and put them beneath the mat. Now, everything about the design is focused on safety as a result of that. However, there is one small thing about it that's less than perfect, which is the zip to do up the net. After 7 years, it still works, it's not broken, but it is just quite stiff to do up, particularly if you're a child. So I have to say, although the manufacturers will hate me for this, we have reached a point where unless we have a very small child on the trampoline, we do not do up the net. And that's just purely because it's stiff and awkward to do, and the kids get on and off frequently. On my original trampoline video, I had a few comments about whether Springfree was less bouncy than other trampolines. It seems to persist as a rumour, and I have to say there's nothing in it. My last video featured a 3-year-old bouncing on the trampoline, and naturally he's lighter weight, so he didn't bounce quite as far up and down, and I think maybe that was a contributing factor. However, if you look around on the internet, and I will link one below, there are some brilliant videos of kids doing backflips and all sorts on Springfree trampolines. There is certainly no compromise on the bounce, and my kids have never complained. You may have heard that one of the best things about Springfree trampolines is they are silent. And perhaps you're wondering whether that continues for the life of the trampoline. It was certainly a big thing for me when we got the trampoline. I really enjoy the fact that it's silent. Well, 7 years on, it's still quiet, beautifully so. And that is one of the best things about it. And finally, to tackle that big question of whether Springfree trampolines are worth it, well, we've had ours in the garden for 5 years. It's survived everything that the British weather can throw at it, plus a dog who's probably on it more often than the children are, plus all the kids who come over for play dates and parties. And it's survived that extreme coastal location with all the salty weather. I think you get a lot of value for your money out of a good trampoline, and I think Springfree is the best. It's well designed, it's conscious of safety, and I like the look of it as well. So if you're in the market for a premium trampoline, if you can stretch to buying one of these, I definitely think they are worth the money. So if this video has been helpful for you, it would be really good for me if you could click the like button, and if you've got any questions, comment down below. And if you'd like to see more products for family and home, then hit the subscribe button and the notifications. Thank you for watching.